I'm Wanted for Killing My Wife by VivereAutMori. Part 1. I've spent hours and hours researching online and I don't know where else to turn. I need help, and after looking over this site, I think you guys might be my only hope. I'm sorry for writing errors, English was never my strong suit. I killed my wife 3 weeks ago, or according to everyone I did. Her name was Diani, at least that's what she'd always told me it was. I learned just before the incident that her name used to be Shannon. Maybe I should have gotten to know her better before marrying a crazy person, but sue me. I knocked her up, and I'm not a man to walk away. We've been married for 4 years, and she was always so weird. It was kind of cute at first, something I thought I could grow to love, but pretty quickly it surpassed the realm of what I could pass off as quirky. Why the heck didn't I leave her, you ask? Why the heck didn't I get the hell out of there when dead dogs started showing up around the house? Or all the times I caught her muttering to herself? Or disappearing into the woods in the dead of night? Because she had money, and we had our daughter to care for. Our daughter, Elise, is the best thing in the world to ever happen to me. She's the sweetest little girl on the planet, so beautiful and so intelligent. I find it hard to believe she could be mine, but the paternity test proved it. I was a loser before her. Well, I still might be, but heck if she doesn't give me something to live for. So the last 6 months before stuff hit the fan were absolutely crazy. We lived in the suburbs. Our house was just a little farther back than the others, into the woods. Neighborhood dogs had been disappearing for weeks. The first 2, a huge German Shepherd and our next door neighbor's poodle, showed up dead in our yard. Maimed, with huge swatches of their fur peeled away. Those ones I told the owners about. The next 3, I buried and didn't say a word. I didn't need the blame ending up on me. I'm still technically on probation. I'd had suspicions it was Diani. I know now it was for sure, and once again, I'm kicking myself for not doing anything sooner. But I need to get to the point. 3 weeks ago, I woke up in the dead of night to my little girl screaming. My precious Elise. I tore the hell out of bed, grabbing the knife I keep in my bedside table, since I can't own a gun, and sprinted downstairs. There in the kitchen was my wife, twisting a knife into her own skin, carving patterns, circular swirls. Her eyes were rolled back into her head, and she was screaming bloody murder. And she was wearing a coat. It was made of chunks of dog pelt. I scooped up my screaming daughter and all but kicked down the front door, running outside with her. It was almost impossible to see because of a thick fog that had rolled in. The lights of nearby houses were flicking on as the screams of my wife and daughter woke up the neighborhood. I'd made it down the driveway before something impossibly heavy slammed into my back. I dropped like a rock, just barely managing to flip towards my side so as not to crush my screaming daughter. Above me stood my wife, drool slipping into long ropes from her mouth. I couldn't move. Elise scrambled from my arms and ran towards our neighbors, who were now pouring out of their nearby houses. I saw my friend Joe running towards us with a baseball bat. My arms were locked in the position they were in when I fell, looking like I was clutching air to me as the daughter I held was no longer there. My face turned partially towards my wife. My eyes strained to see her as she stared down at me. She was dripping blood and drool onto my legs. "Diani, stop, stop," I said to her, my voice hard to understand through my inability to move my jaw. I could hear the neighbors approaching through the thick fog, and I begged in my mind that someone had the sense to get my daughter away from here. There was a growling noise from deep in my wife's throat as she bent forward and grabbed my knife that was still clutched in my hand. Then, without any notice, she slit her own throat and collapsed. The second she hit the ground, I could move again. I scrambled to my feet. My brain felt fuzzy. I didn't know what was going on, but the next thing I knew, Joe had tackled me to the ground. My shoulder splashed in the puddle of my wife's blood pooling on the ground. "You murderer!" Joe was screeching in my ear. I felt paralyzed again, and I can't explain it, but I felt wrong. I knew I needed to leave. I used to be quite the fighter in my day, and I'm a good deal bigger than Joe. I had him off me in a second. I looked around wildly to see Elise running towards me, crying with her arms outstretched. I scooped up my baby girl and took off. I honestly don't remember much after that. I know we got in the car, and I know we somehow managed to evade the police that were sent after me. Luckily, my work bag with my laptop had been in the car when we left. It's been 3 weeks and I'm a wanted man. Me and Elise had been hiding out in an old hunting cabin way out in nowhere. Police reports say witnesses saw me murder my wife before grabbing my daughter and running off with her. I'm already on parole. They will never believe me. I won't say how we got the cabin or where we are in case this is being traced. We can't leave. I've been having nightmares about the incident, about my wife, or whatever that thing was. Elise was doing fine, getting over the incident until last night, and that's where I need the most help. We were outside the cabin. It was evening and I started a small fire to cook marshmallows. I made a quick trip to the gas station the other day. I'd bent down to rummage around in the bag, and when I looked up, Elise was gone. I was frantically looking for her until I found her on the edge of the clearing the cabin is in, staring into the woods. On the edge of the forest staring back was a deer. The eye of the deer and my daughter's were locked, like some creepy staring match. I ran to her in a panic, shaking her and shouting. The deer didn't even move. I finally turned my attention to the deer and shouted at it, scrambling for rocks from the ground and throwing them at it. It ran off when one struck it in the head, and then Elise collapsed and began to scream. She screamed herself to sleep by now, and I don't know what to do. If I take her to the doctors, I'll be arrested. She'll be orphaned, and I have this sick feeling that whatever happened to my wife isn't over. Please help. I don't know what else to do.